Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
We are following breaking news out of Torrance. A robbery pursuit is underway.
We have Mike Rogers at the desk, but first let's go up to Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal with more. Des?
Amy and Juan, well, here we go. It is apparently a robbery suspect here out of South LA that LAPD has been pursuing, even though we're getting well into the South Bay. Let's see what happens now as we may be making the transition to the southbound 110. Looks like a Mercedes, possibly an E-Class that is involved in this. Now, what's weird, besides that, I don't know if that's a flag or a banner or what is hanging out of the sunroof there, but there may have been another vehicle involved in all of this, and it was in South LA. When that vehicle pulled over, people got out and ran, but this vehicle took off. So if it was multiple robbery suspects in multiple vehicles, it's not exactly clear. All we know, though, is that this person or possibly suspects inside the vehicle continue to evade police, and they got something hanging out the window. It kind of looks like it might be a flag or something. Haven't heard the authorities mention what is going on there. There you see LAPD's helicopter coming through the shot as we get ready to go northbound on the 110. There you can see the units very close behind. So getting into afternoon rush hour now, northbound on the Harbor Freeway. Juan and Amy.
Desmond, how does traffic look ahead of the freeway right now, ahead of this pursuit, rather?
I think it's going to be fairly open here as I look out the window northbound on the 110. However, once we get up north of the 105, as we start to enter afternoon rush hour, especially on a Thursday, that's where we're going to start to see that really heavy traffic. Of course, you know, the suspect could opt for the toll lanes and bypass quite a bit of that traffic. And if they do opt to do that, it's going to make things difficult for us as well. Of course, that section of the 110 between the 105 and USC is LAX's sensitive airspace. So we'll see what happens. But we are now northbound of the 110, kind of looping back towards where this began in the South LA area.
And Desmond, while we've been watching this, and I know you saw it a little before us, it doesn't appear that this driver is really going at excessive speeds.
We haven't heard about really crazy speeds. Certainly not since we have gotten overhead. Just before we went to air, they were kind of zigging and zagging out of some lanes. But here you can see, yeah, only up to about 45, 50 miles an hour. So definitely on the slower side, which is, you know, at least the silver lining for the public at the moment. Here you can see that driver. They look to be awfully distracted. Lots of moving around. Oh, yeah. Looks like, well, it doesn't even look like they are looking at the roadway right now. And this is, wow, actually one of those rare instances where we do not have that pursuit tent. We usually always have that really dark limousine tent that makes it really difficult to see what's going on with the suspects. But this is kind of an exception to that here, as we have just a little issue here with the end of these connector ramps and these flyovers. So just hang with us here as we try to get a better angle on this one. The vehicle kind of hiding behind the flyover ramps right here. And now you're seeing a little bit of that afternoon traffic here as we approach the 91.
Well, Desmond, while we may wait for that Mercedes to reappear, as I was saying, we have Mike Rogers at the desk, also monitoring police radio, police scanners. Mike, are you with us?
Yeah, Juan and Amy. Yeah, so I've been kind of listening to this, and you know, as Des mentioned, we initially believed that there were two vehicles involved in this, and you know, originally kind of came out as a carjacking pursuit, and officers were in pursuit of either one or both of these vehicles. When one of the drivers stopped, you had a couple people get out. We actually thought the chase was over because, you know, they started calling out clothing descriptions. They were chasing people on foot, and then it continued in that same area. So whether or not somebody jumped into another car or they were chasing both of them at the same time, that's what we're still trying to figure out here. But regardless, this person has been all over the place. As Des mentioned, this kind of started in the South LA area, kind of in the Vermont and like 60th Street, Vermont and Slauson, and then went down the 110, west on the 105, and actually went in and out of like right near LAX. You know, it's always a trick for us to try to get near the LAX airspace. Even the police helicopter was having some trouble because they were maneuvering north over LAX and had to turn back and come south behind LAX. So who knows if this person was trying to pull the good old-fashioned get lost in the airport trick. It didn't work. The airship was able to stay with it. And so now that we came back down the 405, and now we're back north on the 110 freeway here. And again, yeah, that flag hanging out the top. Now, I haven't heard them request CHP to get involved yet, which is slightly unusual because usually LAPD, especially when they're not in their city, as we were going through those South Bay cities, they'll usually want CHP to take over, but that has not been the case. So we'll see if that changes, but for now, LAPD wants to keep this. They've got their helicopter over it, and they still have those 77th units behind it. I was looking at those police cars. They've got a big 12 on the roof, and that stands for 77th Division.
Yeah, and it sure is easy to keep this car in focus there with that flag or banner, as Desmond was saying, being flown out of the sunroof here. Do we know whether or not, Mike or Desmond, if you both know, whether this car is stolen, or was this car, now that we're getting a good look there at the arm of the driver, you can see he's wearing, look like a white sweater. Do we know if this car was reported stolen as well?
We haven't heard that yet. We have heard the words robbery, a 211 suspect is how it came out. So if the car's not stolen, then they have for sure already run that license plate and know who the registered owner is at least. But it is possible that that is, in addition to one of the wants, but the only want that we have heard so far is robbery.
Well, and I know that well, now it looks like they're grabbing that banner or the flag. I'm not sure what that is supposed to represent. If that's red, green, and gold, it could be Ghana. I don't know. But with the dark windows and back, can we say if we've been able to see if there's anyone else in the car, Mike or Des? Has anybody heard?
I have not been able to see about any other suspects in the vehicle and haven't heard LAPD mentioning anyone else in this car, but very odd.
Pulling over.
Okay, obviously. Yep, so this is what, and there's another vehicle doing the same thing there. So, yeah, there you go. Getting into the express lanes, as I suspected. These are those lanes that at rush hour can be awfully expensive, but can certainly get you around quite a few of the backups here, bottlenecks on this northbound 110. And so the suspect deciding that time is money and getting into the far left lane here, the express lane, carpool lane, as we make our way through the 105. Yep. So this is very normal afternoon traffic. It could just be brutal any day of the week, and especially on a Thursday, even with all lanes open. Here going by the big bus station here that's part of the 105 freeway. So this is what we were kind of concerned about, was now headed back into LAX's airspace. We will need to be getting permission from LAX to continue with this, and hopefully they will just stick with the freeway to the other side towards downtown LA. So we'll give you the best shot we can here, but as I suspected, now into the express lanes to avoid that nasty afternoon northbound 110.
Yeah, you really called it, Desmond. The 110 and the 105 traffic would start getting heavy on this Thursday afternoon, and this is exactly what we're seeing. A robbery pursuit suspect giving chase here. LAPD behind them, as Mike and Desmond were telling us here. CHP has not been called in yet to join in on this pursuit. So far, the LAPD continuing chase here of what we think, Amy, is just one person behind the wheel there. We don't know if there's someone else inside the car. What we did see earlier was a little bit of agitation, a lot of moving around. I think he had his cell phone in his hand, too, from what we could see. And again, the big mystery here of what that banner or flag is. You said Ghana. We also heard it could be maybe Jamaica. Yeah. So it could be a towel. It could be a sarong. Who knows what it is? But it's very unusual. And also, if you're trying to get away from police, I mean, you're basically letting them know this is where you're at because it's so easy to spot, right?
Exactly. And that, change of lanes into the express lanes, that's been about the most aggressive we've seen this driver go. Then rolling up the windows, it appeared that he was closing the sunroof as well, it almost seemed as though he was trying to pull the flag in, but we don't know. The sunroof is still open, but the windows have certainly gone up. And they are tinted, so we cannot see if there is anyone else in the back. But at this point, it does appear that it's just one person in that car. This pursuit starting about 40 minutes or so ago.
Yeah, I would say about 40 minutes ago. And for context for everyone, we are about 2 exits away from where this started. Okay. So I'm very curious to see if he tries to get off the 110 and go back onto surface streets where he does. And if that happens, it's going to be really difficult for SkyCal because for people who don't know, the 110 right here is in what's called Bravo airspace. airspace, and we're not allowed to stop along the 110. We have to continue north to get out of the airspace here. So if he gets off the freeway here, we'll probably lose him. But I'm just curious to see that if he gets off where this all started or if he's going to go into some new territory. But he has returned to this area. And, even when it started, he got on the 110, got off the 110, and was kind of going up and down north and south right in this area until he finally stayed on the 110 and went down to the 105. So, yeah, we'll have to see if maybe that's home. Maybe he knows that area. That's always a question about exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah, a lot of times we know that they do stick to an area that they were very familiar with. You wonder sometimes if they are trying to set things up so that they can, run into a home or try to get help from someone. Of course, we can see those cruisers close behind, and this driver still refusing to pull over. This person may have been involved in a robbery. We do know that there were at least 2 cars involved at one point.
Yeah, that's what it was. A little conflicting right at the beginning, but it did sound like that there were at least multiple suspects, possibly 2 cars, because we did, when we were initially listening to this, we did hear one of the cars pull over and people got out of the car. Now, it's of course possible that they were just passengers in this car and this has all been the same car, but that's a little bit conflicting what we're trying to sort out right now. But we do know that this car continued on from wherever the other people got out of the car, and officers were trying to detain them in that South LA area. And, as we're talking, we're basically passing where this whole thing started right now on Slauson. So, again, he doesn't look like he's getting over, as Des was talking about, staying in those express lanes. And interesting, it looks like he's got room to run, but they're not really going higher than freeway speed limits.
And Mike, talking about, once again, that flight restriction, when does it open up once again? You said we have to keep going north. We can't hover. We can't stay in the area. And that's because, of the LAX flight path,
So it's the LAX flight path and the police helicopter. So when basically to be under the commercial aircraft that are coming into LAX, we have to be at a much lower altitude. And if there's a police helicopter under us, obviously everyone gets kind of squished together there. So we don't stay on pursuits in the Bravo airspace because of the safety concerns with the aircraft overhead, as well as the police helicopters down below. So the Bravo ends basically right around USC, which we're actually coming up on here pretty quickly. So as long as he continues north and makes it through the north end of the Bravo, then we should be free to kind of move around. This would be the first time that he's come this far north, though.
So news helicopters fly higher than police helicopters. Police can fly a little lower, right?
Correct. Yeah. For example, the police helicopter that's on this right now is at about 500 feet, it looks like, and SkyCal's at 900. Now, generally, SkyCal likes to be at 12 to 1300, but we can't do this in that area because of the planes that are landing on top of us.
Absolutely.
Very interesting, right?
And it really is, and we're just continuing to watch, and this driver still hasn't, really exceeded much of the speed limit, 65. Clearly, this person refusing to stop, but seems to be, for the most part, following the rules of the road, which certainly is a good thing. We all know that these pursuits, while all dangerous, they are a bit safer on the freeways because everyone is heading in the same direction. You don't have the pedestrians out there. You don't have the stoplights. You don't have the people that are not expecting a car to be at this speed. But it's
obviously safer, right, on the freeway.
Absolutely.
And we talk about, just the other night we did a story about, dangerous pursuits and how they can be deadly. And one of the factors is, of course, speed. And that is probably a pretty decent reason why LAPD is continuing with this, because we haven't seen those crazy high speeds or the reckless driving. Even as we're coming now well below freeway speeds, it does look like it's getting a little heavier traffic there. So maybe that's why he's slowing down. But nothing terribly crazy speed-wise. And I got to go back and look, since this is a robbery suspect. So LAPD also does the tracking mode where the ground units will back off. Because of the want of this vehicle, because it's wanted for robbery, it may not be eligible for tracking. There are certain crimes that if a suspect is wanted for that are not eligible for tracking, and LAPD will not track them. They will stay engaged in the pursuit the entire time. That's possible that robbery is one of those things that is not eligible for tracking.
Is that probably because this person had a weapon for that robbery?
Very possibly, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of times, now we're coming almost to, we're going to cross over the main
entrance. Back.
Yeah.
Hey, Desmond, let's chat with you here. What's going on over here?
Yeah. I suspected that the driver was going to do that. My pilot, Jeff, was telling me that the express lanes were stopped up ahead. And the reason for that, I have to wonder if LAPD was trying to get a spike strip set up, because if they would have continued farther, they would have been forced onto where the express lanes end at Adams, which would have been a perfect place for LAPD to set up some spike strips or something like that. Of course, now we are kind of underneath that flyover. Yeah, look at that.
CHP.
Look, you had that unit that was right there. I would not be surprised at all if they had some spike strips going on. We'll try to get to the east side of the 110 around this. The flyovers will be ending shortly. And, yep, here we go. Okay. And there is the suspect. So now in the center divider. So that is not a legal lane. That's not an express lane. That is the center divider that the suspect is in, about 45 miles an hour here as they get around that really, really awful traffic. So now we are adjacent to USC. And really, anywhere the suspect goes on the freeway, they are going to be in some really, really gnarly traffic. It is just the beginning of afternoon rush hour, and I think the center divider is going to end right there as well. Let's see how they get out of this one, but we're finally at least past the flyover, and we should be able to bring you a better shot as we are almost in downtown Los Angeles.
And Desmond, are we outside the Bravo restricted area?
We are north of that, but now, you know, if we continue into downtown, it's going to be a totally separate issue with all of the tall buildings,
right?
And whatnot that can create, you know, other problems for us. So we'll just see what the suspect's strategy is. I was thinking earlier, you know, they were headed towards LAX and making it a really difficult decision for us. We were trying to decide how are we going to get to this, because you have to make a decision with either going down the 110 or over towards the 405. You know, you can't go direct because of that LAX airspace. And it almost seemed like maybe the suspect was doing that on purpose. I'll just threw something out the window. Wow, that looked like, we'll have to, boy, that happened so quickly.
Real fast.
Something out the window. It looked like it could have been a gun. It could have been a cell phone, some kind of black object. Almost looked to me like it might have been a gun, though. We'll certainly check out the replay, maybe in slow-mo. It happened so quickly there, but tossing something out the window here just south of the 110. Yeah,
we're going to be re-queuing that video in just a moment there, Desmond, to see if we can highlight the area and see exactly what he threw out there. But looks now that this is a robbery grand theft auto pursuit. So my guess is that the car is part of the problem here. The car was stolen. At least what we're looking at right here. Traffic is a lot heavier. This suspect has been on the 110 freeway heading north. For a long stretch of time, he was in the express lanes, got back into some traffic when he saw the possibility of a spike strip being deployed, and it looks like he's getting off the freeway. Is that right, Des?
Making the transition here. It looks like they're going to be going eastbound on the 10, I believe, is where this is going to lead us. Let's see. Actually, as we come around on this one. So here we are over that very busy 110 interchange. And you can see just how brutal the traffic is in just about all directions. So actually, we're going to be going westbound on the 10, westbound 10, north 110 to the westbound 10 towards the West LA area.
And you know, the thing is that there isn't going to be a wide open freeway at this time of day in LA. And you know, it's rare that they can use a spike strip or do a pit maneuver on a freeway. So this is
here's the replay right here, Amy. Let's take a look if we can see what he threw out there. Yeah, something, Desmond. We just replayed the video. Something clearly was thrown into the brush there by the freeway. So hopefully we'll be able to take another look at it and try to figure out what it was. I'm guessing it's not a cell phone.
No, I'm guessing it's not right out of that sunroof, and definitely something that they wanted to get rid of. Yeah. And we'll certainly, I'm sure, hear soon from police if they did, in fact, pick that item up. And perhaps Mike will hear if they are able to identify what that item was. But again, this driver still, you know, not driving too fast. I don't know if that's because they're choosing not to or if it's because of all the traffic that is on the 10 right now. Again, this person has been sticking to the 110, but this time on the west side of the 10.
Heading westbound on the 10, traffic is going to be a little lighter here than it going eastbound as people head back into the valley, San Gabriel Valley and whatnot from downtown LA. But again, as we get closer to the 405 freeway, we are going to see traffic pick up there as well, but very different. I mean, he made the wise choice here. He jumped on the 10 westbound, and we are seeing a lot less traffic of this robbery grand theft auto suspect who has led police on a pursuit now for about 40 minutes or so, or 35 minutes or so.
Yeah, we're getting close to an hour soon here that they just have been refusing to pull over. And if you are just joining us, we are watching as this person, at least one person, we don't know if there's anyone else in that car that has been leading police on a pursuit. This person was involved in a robbery. has not been driving too erratically,
Right.
but sticking pretty close to the speed limits at this point.
Mike Rogers over at the desk. I know you've been checking some traffic maps and some other things. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I was listening to, I was looking at our next traffic maps and just, even though we're going westbound, I mean, it is a lot more clear. It does kind of hang up as we get back towards the 405 though. So we'll see how that is. But yeah, again, I was also trying to check and see if there was any, it looked like a helicopter may have kind of doubled back. There was, at one point, it looked like there might have been 2 helicopters on this, and it looked like one of them may have doubled back where that item was thrown out. So, they'll have trailing officers. So the way LAPD sets up a pursuit, they call it a pursuit package. For this pursuit, they asked for 4 units and a supervisor to be in the pursuit package. So that's what they've got. Those are the ones that are officially in the pursuit, lights and sirens. But then you'll also have additional units that are kind of trailing. They're not technically in it, but they're there in case it comes to an end. So likely what is happening is you had one of those trailing units stop and search the shoulder there for whatever threw out, because it was clear as day. I was playing the tape back here that he threw something out. To me, and again, this is just from what I saw, I haven't heard this on the radio or anything, it did look like a weapon to me. So, if we saw it, I'm sure LAPD saw it, the units behind them saw it. So somebody is trying to recover that weapon. And, luckily, if there is a bright side to all of this, he threw it out on the dirt on the shoulder. We've seen times where they'll throw something out in the middle of the freeway, and then CHP has to shut down the entire freeway as they do an article search, is what they call it. So luckily that didn't happen, and hopefully we don't have any impact of the already really jammed up 110. But that's what we're talking about right now. And we were able to get the Grand Theft Auto portion of this confirmed as well, which means the vehicle is stolen, which is one of the other reasons that they are not letting this go. Because if they knew who the registered owner was, if they knew who the suspect was, then there may have been some talk about leaving it or letting it go. But if they don't know who this person is, they think the car is stolen, and they're robbery suspects, and we don't know the nature of the robbery either. I think that's why they're really not letting this go. And very interesting to me that they're not turning it over to CHP. Even if it's a robbery pursuit, I've definitely seen them turn it over to CHP pretty quick. So there's something about this that the LAPD wants it. They want to keep it. And you still have these officers from 77th Division who are now way out of their normal area.
So this is the case for a robbery homicide, right? For the detectives with LAPD.
It depends. It depends on the circumstances. Robbery homicide RHD doesn't always take every robbery or homicide case. It's kind of the more serious ones. So the division could be handling it, or the bureau could be handling it. It just depends on the circumstances of the robbery, which we're not able to determine right now.
Wow. And luckily we haven't seen any near misses or side swipes or any dangerous driving here. Just a pursuit suspect in a stolen car, leading police on this pursuit now on the 10 freeway westbound, approaching the 4 o'clock hour here as traffic keeps getting a little heavier, and he's having a bit of a reprieve here from some of that heavier traffic as he made his way away from downtown LA, where he was finding himself in heavier traffic. And what's interesting, look at that, Mike. There's a car just passing him on the side. Meantime, police stay behind him.
It is kind of interesting, and I think Des can attest to this probably a little bit better, but usually, Des, there's times where they'll do a traffic break behind them so that at least cars can't catch up, but we don't see any of that, right?
I don't see any of that. No, that's at least the second or third vehicle that we've seen pass by the suspect, which is always, kind of a weird thing. The person probably oblivious to what is going on. Here comes another vehicle right there as well. I'm wondering if they're, maybe they're thinking that this person is no longer armed after tossing what it was there out the window, and just, kind of echoing what Mike was saying. It was honestly a pretty good chuck by the suspect, whatever it was that they threw out. It got pretty far up the embankment right there. So that's going to be at least a little saving grace for everyone that's stuck in that miserable traffic on the northbound 110, that they're not going to have to block off the entire freeway, maybe just the right lane on that one. This is one of the few drives on a Thursday afternoon where a suspect can go to evade traffic. The westbound 10 generally pretty open, and it looks like it is. It might just be a little bit of a pocket there as you shuffle through the 405, and we'll see what the suspect decides to do. We've been on the freeway pretty much the entire time. We've only heard about this briefly on surface streets. It was kind of on either side of the 110 around Slauson briefly, and then when they were around LAX as well. It kind of seemed like the suspect couldn't decide if they wanted to pass through LAX, airport or what, and then they turned back around and got onto the southbound 405. So basically, the entire time that we've been on this, the suspect has been on the freeway. And I'm just looking at this unit that is, you know, the lead here that does not have a push bar on the front, which tells me that this vehicle would not be used to do a pit maneuver if this vehicle were to get off of the freeway. Hasn't been any talk about a pit maneuver, but if they wanted to do it, they're probably going to have to get another unit to be the lead unit in this if they want to consider doing something like that, if this does end up getting off of the freeway.
Yeah, and I don't see any lights either from the LAPD unit behind this pursuit, so that's why I'm guessing maybe some of those other drivers don't think that this is actually a pursuit, and we're going, what, about 50 miles an hour right now, right?
He's...
Yeah, just about 50.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, but this is definitely still a pursuit because you can see how close back they are. If they, you know, wanted to back off and go into tracking mode, they would have backed way off and probably would not be able to see one of the cruisers on the ground in the same shot as the car. So they are still in pursuit, but it is, I don't know, I guess you could say maybe a little bit more relaxed because they are allowing traffic to pass this person if they want, you know, despite this person driving on the shoulder if they have to avoid any traffic. So here we are as we are getting ready to approach the 405. Maybe a little bit of traffic here. Obviously, if they go to the 405, they're going to encounter a ton of traffic.
Yeah.
So if they pass the 405, then we'll be headed towards the city of Santa Monica and Pacific Coast Highway.
That's one thing I was wondering now. Maybe there are no lights so that the traffic that's ahead doesn't move out of the way, right? Maybe they're hoping for traffic to slow things down. Is that a possibility? Is that a technique, maybe?
And the way
yeah, well, it's kind of hard to say on that one. I don't know that they, you know, intentionally want to get anyone in their way there, but yeah, it is a little unorthodox, I would say, just that we don't seem to have units running a traffic brake, or if they are, you know, they're running a brake maybe way back there where there could be space for people to get on the on-ramp kind of ahead of the traffic brake and kind of get between the brake and the suspect and accelerate ahead. So that may be what's going on. But here we come up to the 405, and we'll see the suspect's next move.
And I was going to ask you, Des, because you're giving us such a great shot of the car, but I was wondering, with all that open space, might they be trying to put down some spike strips or something up ahead because, you know, the car's not going as fast. So, and we don't see as much traffic as you would typically see, even on the westbound side of the 10 at, you know, almost 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon.
It's very possible. It could be a decent idea because the suspect is not going terribly fast. They haven't been making crazy erratic lane changes. They've been tending to stick either to the far left or the far right. And with this kind of light traffic, you know, it certainly could be an opportunity for them to get in with a spike strip. I'm pretty sure that's what we saw earlier on the northbound 110 where those express lanes were about to end at Adams. You saw that CHP unit that was sitting on the shoulder, and I think, well, Mike would know if they're involved at all, but I suspect that there may have been a spike strip attempt, or they would have been ready for it had the suspect continued. Suspect saw that, got over into the main line of the 110 to avoid that.
Yeah, and Des, just really quickly, I have been listening to the CHP radio. The CHP has been advised, but you know, they're not involved. LAPD, not that I've heard, has not requested their help. And as we've talked about this before, CHP is one of the agencies that it's all theirs or it's not theirs. They don't share, and that's and that's understandable. It's because each department has different pursuit policies, different tactics, and they just want to make sure that they can control the whole thing. Des, if you don't mind, will you look at one of those patrol cars? I think this is one of the cars that has kind of a different light bar on top. I think the lights are on. I think they are still rolling what's called code 3. Yeah, you can see the rear brake lights too, and right on top there. So they do still have their lights and sirens on, and this is still a full-blown pursuit as we kind of approach the 405, or actually past the 405 now, right, Des?
Yeah, we are past the 405 and getting into the city of Santa Monica. And by the way, I did take that opportunity when they made the transition to the westbound 10. We were able to see very clearly into the passenger side and could see that there was no one in the front passenger seat. So unless there's someone in the back, and we can't see through that rear glass, unless there's someone in the back, then it's just the driver in the vehicle. And they've closed the sunroof, and you can see kind of like
He's exiting, right?
They really wanted this. They really wanted this flag or banner or whatever to be sticking out of the window. Kind of odd, but here we go. We are getting off the freeway now at Centinela. Busy West LA traffic, and we'll see what LAPD, what kind of tact they want to take for this as we get on to looks like coming up to southbound here onto Bundy Drive.
And of course, a pursuit like this, once it gets off the freeway, it does become more dangerous as there are pedestrians out there, people at intersections unaware. We're looking at it right now, going through this intersection very aggressively, going through that intersection. And it certainly makes it more dangerous, but it does also give those officers an opportunity to put down the spike strips or do that pit maneuver. But already he's getting right back on.
On the eastbound side, too, which is the super heavy side. You know, when Dez was able to get really tight in there, one of the things that I saw, the driver looks very agitated. You know, he sometimes doesn't even have his hand on the wheel. I'm wondering if he's on the phone. I thought that earlier, but he looks like he's having a conversation with somebody in there and looks very agitated, kind of with his hand movements and stuff like that. So, you know, it's always who knows what these guys are thinking when they're doing this, but it doesn't seem like this is a situation where this driver is calm. He definitely seemed agitated to me when we were able to look in the window.
Well, and it looks like if he stays in this lane, Mike, well, now he's changing, of course. He would have been heading 405 northbound, heading in our direction, but he may be heading south now towards Long Beach. If he does continue this way, I'm guessing no matter what he chooses here is going to be a bad decision because look how much traffic is on the freeway at this hour.
Yep, I mean, this is one of the heaviest drives in LA, the eastbound 10 out of Santa Monica towards downtown LA. So very odd what this suspect was. I have no idea what they were trying to accomplish, headed to Santa Monica and then doubling back on the 10. I mean, there isn't really a very serious attempt to get away from the authorities. So I'm just kind of wondering, I mean, you know, we're seeing now driving in the center divider and, you know, of course, right as I say that, then we, you know, start to see them kind of trying to evade that slow traffic, but they're not going 100 miles an hour. They're not zigging and zagging all over the place. So it's almost like they're not really making that serious of an attempt, certainly not like we've seen with some of the other pursuits. And now, you know, intentionally getting into traffic. I'm sure when they were headed westbound, they saw all of the nasty eastbound traffic, you know, going the opposite direction. And now that suspect has put themselves right into this mess, into the center divider where there could be all sorts of debris that could you know, puncture a tire or something like that if they're just going to drive in the center divider the entire time. But there you go, LAPD right behind them, 20, 30 miles an hour. They are sticking with this vehicle here as we squeeze through the 405 and slow ride back towards downtown.
Is that the carpool lane or is that the shoulder?
It's just a shoulder. There's no carpool lanes, much to folks' chagrin. There's no carpool lanes on the Santa Monica freeway. The entire stretch from downtown through Santa Monica.
All right, well, that's good to know.
Traffic is
a good reminder too, right? Yeah, exactly. And as Desmond was mentioning, this driver not going too fast, but just continuing this pursuit at this hour here. And just not too long ago, we did find out that it's wanted for a robbery, grand theft. So that car you're looking at right there is stolen. Not too long ago, we did see what looked like could be a weapon being tossed from the car when this driver was on the 110 freeway for a little bit of time. He headed westbound on the 10 freeway into Santa Monica, and of course he decided to get off and head back west in Santa Monica, eventually staying there right now. And if he would have stayed on the eastbound 10, he would have ended up in the city of Santa Monica, which of course lots of traffic there on a day like today. But right now, just keeping police in pursuit of this suspect. As Mike was saying, looked a little bit disheveled. He's just kind of moving around a little bit, agitated. And whether or not he's on the phone with police, with investigators, with a family member, maybe to stop this pursuit, we don't know. But it looks like there's just one person in this car, and this pursuit continues.
Yes, it's been going on for a little over an hour now. Des up in SkyCal giving us a closer look at this person. Again, the windows definitely have that dark tint on it, so it is hard to see what is or if anyone else is in that car, but we were able to see, they're parting the way there for them a little bit, a little more aggressive, trying to get around all this traffic and picking up speed here. Again, this driver has been really, I mean, I hate to say it, on the calm side as far as driving, going the speed limit or under, not really doing a lot of aggressive lane changes or turns. But every now and again, we notice that he does pick things up a little bit, gets a little more aggressive, and just so much traffic on this stretch of roadway right here. Had the chance to get off, but got right back on. and almost seemed to drive into the high traffic areas at this point. But we're watching as perhaps he's going to get off again. Or watching.
Well,
Nope,
there was
nope.
a chance right there, yeah, Amy, but he didn't. All right, we are approaching the 4 o'clock hour here. KCAL News at 4 is what you're watching here as we continue following this pursuit happening right now on the 10 freeway eastbound. This is a suspect wanted for the robbery of that Mercedes. We believe it is an E-Class. We have Mike Rogers at the desk. We have Desmond Shaw up in SkyCal watching this all unfold. And as you can see here, the driver hitting a lot heavier traffic, and right behind him, the LAPD.
And as we did mention, this person again mentioned that they were wanted for robbery. At one point, we did see this person throw something out of the sunroof. It did appear like, there it is right here on the right side of your screen. Watch closely, the hand goes up. And it does appear that it could be a weapon that they threw, something, certainly a dark, heavy object that went quite some distance. But that has really been the majority of the activity that we've seen from this car. Again, this has been going on a little over an hour now. Robbery and grand theft auto suspect that police have been following most of the time on the freeways, the 110 now on the 10, but has really been avoiding the surface streets, which we know can be more dangerous, but it also gives officers an opportunity to put out spike strips or do a pit maneuver. Looks like they've just stopped. Other cars are also stopped, doors opening. And let's see if he's going to stay stopped. Nope, looks like still going there.
Yeah.
Well, that's new. He hasn't done that before.
No.
First time they've stopped in the traffic here, everyone. That's the first time we've seen LAPD with their doors open at one point or another. You know, this. If they would have handed this off to CHP and CHP would have taken it, I feel like CHP would have probably done a pit maneuver on the freeway at this point. We have seen it a couple of times in rush hour traffic, and you know, even though look at how much wide open kind of roadway there is here.
Yes.
A lot of cars on the side there too.
Yeah, it really, you know, could be a good opportunity for that, but it's not going to happen with this unit that is in front, and I don't think LAPD would do it anyway. But you can see there's no push bar on the front of that cruiser right there, which is what they pretty much always have if they're, you know, going to attempt something like that, so that they don't, you know, cause a lot of damage to their own vehicle. But yeah, kind of weird there. Coming to a stop there just for a moment, but here now the window down again, and look at this guy. It almost seems like another little something out the window they just threw. I couldn't tell what that. It might have almost just looked like a plastic wrapper or something. It got a big. Is that a? I think that looks like a Thomas guide. Wow. Just, okay, littering as well. It looked to me. It looked to me like a Thomas guide. And some of our younger viewers probably have no idea what those are, but.
Really reaching over to the side of the car, trying to find what we don't know there, something, and then throwing it out, looking agitated as we've been seeing earlier, and really aggressively trying to get something. We're watching a little closer.
And he's reaching into the back seat.
To the road,
yeah, and you know what's oh
goodness.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow, okay.
What? Is he getting into the back seat?
Wow.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, insanely distracted. I mean, we all live in LA and we see distracted drivers every day, but this is a very extreme case. Even at low speed, still extremely dangerous. Amazing he hasn't crashed into somebody already. Got something else in their hand here, but whatever that was, they saw it, they didn't like it, they ripped it up and threw it out the window. So I don't know if this driver having, you know, some sort of mental breakdown, but it looks like another book or something, but
driver's
just
manual?
A ton of distraction going on with this person here.
This isn't even his car, right? So the things that are in this probably aren't his either.
Exactly.
So he's rifling through someone else's stuff, and then presumably, and then who knows what he's looking for? Maybe he's looking for something that's going to help him with this. I don't know what, but it was kind of weird. Yeah, he threw it out, and this likely isn't even his things.
Yeah, and fortunately, traffic is slow enough that he was able to reach back into the car like that. And we're
here
going
it is
to
again. We're going to watch it right here. He's throwing things outside the car, and he keeps fumbling around. It looks like he's going through his back pockets here for a second, going through that either manual or, as Desmond Shaw was saying, a map book, Thomas guide, which was used for many years here. in Southern California to get around. And as we kept watching this, it was so amazing, Amy. Look at this. You can almost see, the back of his pants as he tries getting something in the back seat. I thought he was really going to go into the back seat here just a moment ago, but there's something that he's very interested in, as Mike was saying, probably rifling through the property of whoever owns this car, looking for something. I don't know what he could possibly want that could help him in this case, because right now they're treating him as a grand theft auto suspect, leading police here on a pursuit.
Yes, and we saw a lot of cars pulling over, and you have to imagine that a lot of those drivers are seeing the cruisers, lights and sirens, so they're pulling over to get out of the way. We see a truck there over on the side, but this driver refusing to stop, now changing lanes, picking up speed a bit here. Doesn't appear that he's looking for anything else right now, but focusing a little more on the road. But that was definitely a new one for us, Juan. We don't often see that on these pursuits.
Indeed, we don't. And again, what's it going to be like when this does eventually come to an end? Will he eventually give up? Will it be a suspect who continues to be very agitated? Police obviously watching this unfold with us as well, planning ahead is how they're going to treat this situation. Now, hopefully for the motoring public this afternoon, this pursuit doesn't stop on the freeway. It'd be great if he does get off and pull off at least to the shoulder so that people who want to go home can continue to go home. But if he stops, they're going to have to get him into custody, make sure he's not armed, make sure he's in handcuffs, put him in the car before they tow away this stolen Mercedes. So hopefully that's not going to be the case, and that they will be able to bring this pursuit to an end off the freeway. But I don't know. I mean, look at the traffic. I mean, it's heavy. It is slow. Anybody who travels on these freeways in the afternoon know it is a slow go no matter where you're heading. And again, he headed back into the downtown LA area. Now he's on the 10 freeway right around Fairfax Avenue. So again, that's an area that slows down quite a bit as well. So unless he gets off the freeway here, which he could be possibly getting off the freeway, he's just going to be stuck in a lot of heavy traffic. He's been threading these middle lanes here, these medians. He's been on the side of the road here. Just he wants to get away, but at times speeds, look at this, 10 miles an hour. He's not going anywhere, but the LAPD right behind him there, as Mike was saying, this could have been turned over to the California Highway Patrol. The LAPD wants it. They're going to continue on this pursuit. And without a push bar in front of that vehicle, the LAPD vehicle, this is going to be one of those pursuits where he's just going to have to pull over, stop, and give himself up to police. But again, we're not seeing that right now.
No, and there's just too many other cars out there for them to attempt a pit maneuver unless they have a nice open gap there, and too many cars on the road to put down a spike strip. So this driver's going to have to either get off of the freeway, or officers are going to have to really block off some traffic to open things up so that they could actually attempt a pit maneuver. We don't see it often, but it does sometimes happen. I remember seeing it on the 101 on a pursuit not too long ago, but this is really going to keep police very busy, as they just have to follow this driver until they can get him to either pull over or get some space there between those other drivers to put out a spike strip. And Desmond, a lot of traffic out there this afternoon, certainly keeping this at a slow pursuit, not even going 20 miles per hour at this point.
No, absolutely, and it's going to be this way all the way through the East LA interchange, and it just makes me wonder if the suspect is just kind of running out the clock, so to speak, on this, trying to drag this out as long as possible. The other thing is that whatever that is sticking out, if it's a flag or a banner or whatever, is sticks out like a sore thumb. It's very easy to spot this car from half a mile away, because it's the only car that has this colorful piece of material hanging out of the sunroof. So if they wanted to have make a more serious attempt to get away, probably would have seen that ditched, probably would be seeing some higher speeds or them driving, a lot more erratically. And the suspect kind of does that in bursts, maybe just for 10 or 15 seconds, and then seems to kind of calm back down, get back, into lanes of the roadway, then stop, and then kind of speed away into the center divider or the right-hand shoulder, and then just kind of coming back and cooperating with traffic. So very, very bizarre on this one, and it has been going so slow. I really feel like there could be a good opportunity for a spike strip. But, you know, LAPD, in a lot of ways, as we know, they've really been under a microscope over the last couple of years, more so than probably any other law enforcement agency. And it just seems like they've been taking a much more calm tact, a more relaxed tact with a lot of these pursuits. So, you know, we haven't seen a pit maneuver. We haven't heard any talk about that. We haven't seen a real spike strip attempt or any talk about that. We've seen some marathon pursuits go where LAPD, they stick with it even though it can get dozens of miles out of their jurisdiction. They want to stick with it from end to end, and they will just follow it, you know, however long it has to go without them doing anything that's going to endanger the public. It kind of seems to be the MO of LAPD in recent memory.
Yeah, just this week, didn't we have a report that said they did a study of pursuits all around the country that unless it was a very serious offense, we shouldn't pursue. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah,
remember?
right. Yeah, that study said that there's a lot of things that should be looked at, and one of them is what's the seriousness of the want here, and also how fresh is it? Fresh meaning how recently did it happen? And you know, we believe that the theft of this vehicle either happened in front of an officer or very near that they responded very near the time it happened. Obviously close enough to where they were able to kind of catch it in the act or something to that effect. So, you know, and the other thing too, when we talk about pit maneuvers and spike strips and, you know, the vehicles that can do it, I'm also curious, obviously there are things that the LAPD knows that we don't know, right? And the LAPD in the past has not conducted any of those things because there are officer safety concerns. Obviously, when you spin somebody around like that, if there's any reason to believe they're armed, which we have a decent reason to believe that based on what was thrown out of the car, then they won't do that. You don't want to spin a suspect around and have him facing you when he's potentially armed. Right. So, you know, while yes, Des is right that they may have, you know, the LAPD definitely has gotten a little bit more conservative in some of their tactics in recent years, there also could be a safety concern, and the pit maneuver has not been authorized because, you know, as we've been talking, you have that same unit from the LAPD, that 77th unit that is right there. We have gone through gosh, I think like 5 or 6 different divisions of the LAPD so far, and they have not swapped out that unit. The 77th station has stayed with it. If they wanted to bring in a unit that maybe they were less worried about the damage to the patrol car, they certainly could have done that by now. They definitely could have made that choice to swap out those cars and to do that. So my guess is a pit maneuver has probably been denied by the watch commander for whatever reason that they've decided, possibly that they think this person is armed or the seriousness of the crime. They're worried that they could put officers at risk if you spin them around like that. Now, same thing with a spike strip. You're still putting an officer in front of the car when you do a spike strip. So it's hard to tell exactly what the conversations are with LAPD's command staff that are, you know, obviously in charge of this. There is a sergeant. Usually the most rear vehicle in a pursuit package is the sergeant. And then, of course, you've got the watch commander at the station that is also monitoring it. And the watch commander at the station will make the ultimate call on what goes on and what happens here. And again, depending on the want, you know, you could have detectives involved in this if this was something that they had been looking for this person for a little while, or if this was just a fresh stolen vehicle and robbery, which we kind of think that it is. So there's a lot of different factors in play here, but I think the fact that the LAPD has not swapped out any of their units that are in this, have not requested CHP, I think those are all very conscious decisions by the department.
And they probably wouldn't do it in such heavy traffic, and also based on the agitation that we've seen of the driver, and it looks here we're getting off the freeway, Des.
We are getting off of the freeway, and we also want to show our viewers this again. This is when it looks as though that suspect, you saw it right there. We're still waiting for confirmation. It did appear to be a weapon, but we cannot say for certain. We're also showing you some other video here where that person seemed to get a little agitated, started rummaging through items in this car. Again, this is a stolen car, so they're rummaging through notebooks or books, throwing them out of the window. But the big concern there was that item that went out of the sunroof, that dark, heavy object that they threw out. We're watching now as the car is stopped there briefly, getting off of the 10.
At Crenshaw Boulevard, it looks.
Yes.
Desmond, he kind of stopped. What? Any guess why he did that? Is there anything ahead? Is he trying to figure out straight, left, right, or what to do here?
No, it's weird.
There's somebody
oh,
there.
oh, whoa.
No.
What?
He threw something to somebody.
Just tossed something to that guy.
To that guy's face.
Interesting. That was
Somebody's
very interesting.
Oh, I wonder.
Boy,
That was
Go ahead,
something.
Amy.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. And I'm wondering if another cruiser went after that guy who just collected whatever it was that he was throwing. You know, and I think that's the thing. They're stopping. You're wondering, are they planning something? Now he's spinning back around, perhaps trying to get back on the freeway. But we have to hope that there was an officer that is with that person who did, in fact, catch some item that was thrown out. Hopefully we can rewind that so we can see again. There was someone that was standing at the intersection. You see him there in the white shirt.
Wow, he did catch something.
He catches
yeah.
it, and then he just walks right off unsuspectingly there. But we do hope that an officer saw that and is checking in to see who that person is and what they did in fact catch.
He caught it and he just turned around very nonchalantly. So maybe when he was on the phone, he was on the phone with this guy. We do see something new every day with these pursuits, huh, Desmond?
Absolutely, and the tone of this pursuit has suddenly changed
Oh, yeah.
dramatically.
Yes.
All of a sudden, the
He's
suspect
getting
is
off
a
of the road.
maniac, now up onto the sidewalk to get around traffic. When they were going so mellow earlier on the freeway, and now they get off. Whatever they tossed to that person certainly looked like a planned maneuver, and now it is crazy driving in the center divider, up on the sidewalk briefly to evade authorities in extremely heavy traffic here on Crenshaw. Again, very normal at this time of the day, and now all of a sudden this has gotten very dangerous for folks that are just trying to get home for the afternoon. So how is LAPD going to respond now that the suspect all of a sudden on the wrong side of the road got up to 65 miles an hour there briefly on Crenshaw Boulevard?
All right, let's find out a little more information from Mike Rogers.
The doors
at
are
the
opening
desk,
here. And he's taking off again. He's trying to, at least. There's a lot of traffic there. He's trying to zigzag around these cars. But this is getting, really difficult because you've got so much traffic on this stretch of roadway.
Oh, boy.
Truck
Is he
trying
gonna
to block
block him
him.
in?
He's blocking him in.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Are they doing this on
Intentionally.
purpose?
Intentionally,
so.
it does
It
look
looks
that
like
way. It does.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which is
yeah.
so not what
Look at
LAPD
that.
wants.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Well,
hands
Look
out.
at that now. All of a sudden, the hands are up. Interesting. Wow.
That is.
Well, a good Samaritan getting involved here. As Mike said, definitely not what LAPD wants. They're going to tell that person to get out of their vehicle and run for cover.
Yeah, because now he's in the line of fire.
Yeah, absolutely. However, the good news is the hands are out the window, and it seems like that suspect just wanted to ditch whatever that was. That looked like a very planned maneuver there, a handoff off of the freeway, and then tried to take off right after handing whatever that was off. And now, just a few moments later, looked to be content to finally surrender to LAPD here.
Looks like the guy
Crenshaw
in the
Boulevard.
pickup truck just stepped away, Desmond, in a white T-shirt and blue jeans. Yeah, looks like he stepped away.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this guy coming out the window. Mike, would they have asked him to come out the window like that? I mean,
If he couldn't open the door, they will. If he wasn't able to open the door, they will. And that, explains all that slow driving was probably just planning to get that guy in the right spot to do the handoff. This is
his pants are falling down.
not his
too.
best day coming out of the driver's side window here. But, and I did just hear from a source that said that the Grand Theft Auto here was witnessed by somebody who called it into LAPD. So it was a witnessed crime that the LAPD was notified of and then started following. And here's where we are. I'm curious to know if they got that other guy in custody as well.
Oh my goodness. I think his pants are caught on something inside the car and he's kind of stuck. You saw that, Desmond, how he lifted his hands up?
Yeah, I know. A little bit of gymnastics here. I don't want to zoom in anymore, just in case the second layer of clothing
comes off, right?
Starts to slip off of his waistband here. But kind of a slightly comical ending to this. If they should have just been able to open the door and come out, but I don't know. The window down and now doing a little bit of asphalt gymnastics.
Yes.
Asphalt gymnastics.
Yes, and this truck certainly stopping this car. This is, of course, not what any officer wants you to do, not get involved in a pursuit like this. I'm sure the person thought that they were helping out, but this is not a safe way to help out. And it is still very interesting to, find out what item was thrown to that person. Clearly, they were planning. It looked very planned. And this person was able to, we're going to try to show that to you as well, but
we're going to start here where things got interesting right this afternoon. First, that gun toss. We're assuming it's a gun toss. The suspect wanted for robbery, grand theft auto pursuit. Then this bit of video here where he starts to grab things from the backseat of the car. Looks like maybe the owner's manual, a map book. He thumbs through it right there, tosses it out the window, doesn't need that either. And then for a bit of time, he looks like he was trying to get into the backseat of the car, reaching for something before he kept police on this slow speed pursuit. And it wasn't until he finally got to this part right here, once he got off the freeway, that gray pickup truck basically gingerly tapped the front of the Mercedes. I mean, it wasn't even a hard hit. He just kept inching his way forward till that car couldn't go any farther. And that's when the driver put his hands up. And as Desmond was saying,
this is important right here, too, Juan.
Very, very important. Take a look, Amy. Take it away.
We're watching as this man in a white shirt walks up. He catches an item that is thrown to him. It almost looks like it's a brown paper bag.
A satchel or something, right?
Yeah, something brown. That suspect now clearly out on the road doing a little gymnastics, as you said, Desmond, to get out of that car. We're guessing that door would not open, and that is why he went through the window. But so many different elements of this pursuit. You just wonder what he threw out of the window, if it was in fact a gun, and then what did he toss to that person? And did police actually catch up with that person? And look here, Juan, you've got somebody in that white truck just stuck there waiting, cannot get out of this area. That's got to be a little frightening because you don't know what's going to happen. But you've got a front row seat to the end of this pursuit as you sit there stuck, not able to get out of this area here. But
well, it looks like he's not going to go anywhere. He is complying. They caught him with his pants down, right? That's how things are shaping up here. But officers still, I guess, trying to figure out if there's anybody else in that car too, right? The tinted windows, they're pretty dark, even though we could see the driver for a long period of time. But those darker windows, the back window, and the back seat windows, those are dark. So I'm guessing, Mike, maybe that's part of the deal here. I mean, what's holding up the apprehension here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things going on here. They're probably trying to, like you mentioned, see inside the vehicle there. But I would imagine that white truck is very concerning for them as well. This person accused of stealing this car. What's to stop him from doing it to another one? You have two cars in play here. You've got the pickup truck that is now totally abandoned. We don't know if that driver left the keys in there, if the doors are unlocked. And then you've got the white pickup truck right next to it. That is also, in play here as well. So the officers back there are coordinating a plan. I think if on the upper right of the screen there, you kind of see that huddle of officers. They're probably coordinating. I would assume, and Des, I don't know if you can pan to the right or out a little bit. I would assume they may be either waiting for a shield, getting something out of the trunk there to be able to make their approach in the way they want, maybe less lethal. But yeah, you have that officer running back to another patrol car. I'm surprised. Are there more than just those two units there, Des? Yeah, there's got to be, right?
Well, yeah, we'll widen out and see there's quite a few more back here as well. So they're going to want to come and clear the vehicle before they take the suspect into custody. But the longer they do that, it's kind of nerve-wracking because, like you said, Mike, you've got people sitting in a truck right here, and then if that suspect hopefully took the Good Samaritan, I should say, if they hopefully took their keys with them with that Toyota pickup truck right there. It would be right. I mean, what is to stop this suspect if they, get something else in their mind about trying to escape this situation? But it sure seemed okay. Now here we go. Now they're going to come and clear the vehicle, and once we see
it was less lethal, he was grabbing
more relaxed tone.
What did you see, Mike? Oh, you
the less lethal.
The less lethal, yeah. That's a 40 millimeter. Can either shoot. It's actually the foam projectile gun.
Okay, so now here we go. Now they're going to look in the trunk as well, but they're going to come and take this solo suspect into custody, and a pretty wild pursuit with a pretty unique ending. I'm not sure that I've ever seen a handoff like that before, whatever that was. But all of that time that the suspect seemed to kind of be bleeding away on the slow freeway certainly seemed like they were trying to devise a plan to get whatever it was out of their hands into someone else's hands. Of course, the suspect has to realize there are so many eyes both on the ground and in the air on that suspect that that plan was never going to work, and they're going to jail regardless.
He's putting up a little bit of a fight there. Looks like he's yelling at the officers there. Very agitated still, yelling, very aggressive toward those officers there. You can
Yeah.
clearly see that. And, you know, Mike, I don't know if you've been able to hear anything. Have the officers at all been talking about that other person that was at the corner there that caught the item that was thrown from?
Well, so it was interesting. I was actually on the phone with LAPD when that happened. So, you know, obviously they were all watching it along with us. And, you know, I'm sure officers, like I said, were hopefully going to detain that person. You know, as soon as we conclude this here, I'm actually going to have Des go check out that off ramp there and see if we see, you know, any patrol cars over there or that person being taken into custody. But yeah, man, this guy is not still kind of giving them a hard time getting to the back of the patrol car here.
Yeah, you can see he's still yelling at them. Very aggressive manner there as they put him in the car. Certainly not letting up on that, but they are getting him into that cruiser there after a pursuit that lasted about an hour and a half. Most of the time it was on the freeway. He was, we see all those doors open there of that Mercedes. I'm sure they're searching for anything else that might be in that car. We did see that other man there standing on the sidewalk in the white shirt that I believe did get out of that silver truck that did help box in this driver that helped come to an end.